Daniel Penny says he felt no shame after the NYC subway death of Jordan Neely. What's up, everybody? My name is Simon Hill. If you're new to my channel, I'll introduce myself. I'm a black American who's been traveling across the world, and I make videos related to my experience about what it's like to be in different countries as a black person and how much anti-blackness exists in those spaces. If you like those videos, check them out. It's a part of my Black Sit series, which has really grown my channel. But also on my channel, I make music. I'm an amateur guitarist. Also a bad rapper, and I also give my takes about different issues that happen across the world related to society and politics. I've dedicated my life to fighting against white supremacy in all forms. I speak up for the oppressed and the repressed across the world, and I fight against oppression for all people, not just black people, but for all people. I fight against oppression for all people. Let's just make that very clear. And today we're going to talk about a story that's happening in my great, beautiful, free country, the United States of America, the freest country in the world, where people who are homeless can get choked on trains by civilians. This was written by Juliana Kim for NPR.org. Let's start reading. In his first interview since placing Jordan Neely in a fatal chokehold, former U.S. Marine Daniel Penny insisted that the confrontation between the two had nothing to do with race and he was not a white supremacist. For anybody who doesn't know this story already, Daniel Penny is a young white man who choked a homeless black man on the NYC subway train, who was not attacking anybody, who was not threatening anybody. He was just ranting and raving, going crazy. Now listen, I'm from Louisiana. I'm not from New York. I went to New York one time. I rode the New York City subway train, and going into it, I already knew as a young person, as a person who's not from New York, that the New York City subway line is one of the weirdest places in the world. You'll see a homeless guy jerking off. At the same time, you'll see some amateur violinist do a backflip while she's trying to panhandle money to pay for school. Like, the New York City subway line is one of the weirdest places in the world. And everybody who lives in New York knows this. And anybody who's traveled to New York probably has known this. You'll see some of the craziest stuff in the world in New York City. People going about their day on the train, reading books or reading newspapers. At the same time, you have some guy doing 500 push-ups on the floor, like some weird shit. Like, the weirdest shit happens in New York, and I want to go back to New York to visit again. But even me, as a foreigner to New York, I know that there's going to be homeless people, weird people, crazy people on the train, and that doesn't give me the excuse to be a thug and a criminal like Daniel Penny, to kill somebody who just is, bothering me. That's stupid. Let's continue reading. Everybody who's ever met me can tell you I love all people. I love all cultures, Penny told the New York Post. I was actually planning a road trip through Africa before this happened. This is one of the typical excuses white people love to make all the time. Not all white people, but some white people who want to claim innocence whenever they do a racism, say a racism, anything like that. Whenever this happens, they always say, my sister's cousin's girlfriend, nephew is dating a black girl. Some weird shit like that. Or they say, I can't be racist. I travel to Kenya all the time for summer vacations and stuff like that. Going to Africa, being around black people does not mean that you're not racist. Period. It's stupid. It's a stupid defense. There are plenty of white people in Africa who are racist. Just look at South Africa. And there are a lot of white people who travel to Africa and enjoy the sun, enjoy the beaches, enjoy the nice weather, and go back to their countries and say the N-word all day and say that, these countries are poor and developed and underdeveloped and they have negative things to say about black people. Just going to Africa does not make you not racist. And trust me, I've lived in Africa for a good amount of time. I'm not from Africa, but I spent years in Tunisia, months in Kenya, months in Tanzania, months in Mauritius, and I do plan on going back. And when you go to Africa, you will see a lot of white people who go there and get treated like gods and queens on this earth, like kings and queens on this earth, because black people and Africans have been infected with white supremacy in their mind. So when they see white foreigners, they worship them as if the ground they walk on was made of gold. And it's sad. So going to Africa does not make you less racist. It does not mean you are not a racist. And there are a lot of white people, unfortunately, who go to Africa and don't realize that a lot of the problems in there are caused by white supremacist violence that happened throughout history, and they don't have the historical context in their mind. Let's continue reading, though. That was just a tangent, a rant I had to get out. Because, Africa. I love Africa. Penny, 24, who is white, faces a felony charge of second-degree manslaughter for the death of Neely, a 30-year-old black man who was homeless. The charge carries a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. His next court date is July 17th. The altercation took place on May 1st on a New York City subway train. Neely, who used to perform on subway platforms as a Michael Jackson impersonator, was shouting that he was hungry and thirsty and willing to die. Moments later, Penny put Neely in a chokehold for several minutes. Neely was pronounced dead that same day. Now, I know I'm wearing a suit today and I look very presentable and handsome in my attire, but I'm a poor person. I'm a poor English teacher. I've made it very clear in previous videos that I make about $18,000 a year. By American standards, that puts me in the working poor. In global standards, that puts me maybe middle class, but I still feel like a poor person. And I have the mentality of a person who's class conscious as well, as a part of the working poor. In America, most Americans are about a paycheck away from being homeless. Most of us are very close to being Jordan Neely. So saying that you have no regrets about killing a person who could be you in another lifetime or in a different situation, we all could be on the streets one day. I'm very cognizant in my mind that I'm very blessed and fortunate to have what little I do have and to have the opportunities I do have. So we should not view homeless people who are ranting and raving on the train, also people who are lacking mental health treatment, basic humanity. Somebody doesn't deserve to die because they're yelling on the train that they're hungry and thirsty and that they're willing to die. We live in a country, or you guys live in a country, because I don't live in the US anymore, but you live in a country that does not guarantee health care for its people, that does not have proper actual, medical health, mental health facilities for people to go to that are not so super expensive. We make it very hard for people who are mentally sick to get treatment. We make it hard for the actually physical sick to get treatment. We do not have any real social safety net to catch the people who fall through the cracks and maybe are working poor or maybe have fell on hard times to get back on their feet. We live in a country where we could all be Jordan Neely. And I think that's what people are missing. People are missing that, this is a white guy who killed a black guy who was poor and homeless and all that sort of stuff. But it's a class thing. It's a class thing. As Americans, we should be able to view poor people, homeless people as us, because we are very close to that. The majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. If you're that one rich American in the comment section, tell us how much money you make, because people love to lie in my comment section on YouTube. Tell us how you're the richest person, and there's no way in hell you could ever lose your home, lose your car, lose your health insurance and life insurance. That could never happen to you, right? But it does. It happens to many Americans every single year because we do not have a safety net that protects us when we need financial help. I'll continue reading. I can tell you that the threats, the menacing, the terror that Jordan Neely introduced to that train has already been well documented, Penny told the Post. However, there has been no reported indication that Neely physically attacked any person. Penny added that Neely's death was tragic and the real blame should be on the system. Yes, the blame should be partially on the system. New York City is the richest city in the richest country in the world. And it's a shame. It's an embarrassment that there are homeless people running around New York. There are billionaires who live in New York. At the same time, at the bottom of their buildings where their penthouses are, there are people panhandling. There are people begging for spare change. That's an embarrassment. There's more than enough money in the world, more than enough resources in the world to end homelessness and hunger 5 times over. But we allow this capitalistic system to hoard wealth to the top, to let it aggregate to the top, and everybody else has to fight and beg for crumbs at the bottom. And that is the sick part. That is partially to blame on the system. But Daniel, the system does not allow you to be a thug. It does not allow you to be a criminal. It does not allow you to run around holding people in chokeholds. I hate the 1%, but I can't go grab the Koch brothers and put them in a chokehold. I can't grab Elon Musk and put him in a chokehold. I can't grab Jeff Bezos and put him in a chokehold. No, I cannot do criminal activity, hurt and kill other people because I don't like who they are or I don't like what they say. This is why the right is so crazy. It's so crazy. Their last resort when they want to go to, their last resort, when they hear things that they do not like, is to resort to violence. It's not to use their wit, their intellect, their words to fight against what they don't like. If Jordan Neely was cursing and ranting on the train, Penny, you should have done what every other New Yorker does and tell him, fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. Like, curse at him and then leave. Get off on your stop. But instead, you decided to be a thug. You decided to chimp out. You decided to go crazy and hurt somebody. And this is why you need to be buried under the jail. It's tragic what happened to him. Hopefully we can change the system, and that so desperately failed us, he said. Penny went on to say that he felt no shame when asked if he would do it again. He nodded and said, I would if there was a threat and danger in the present. And that's why Daniel Penny should be buried under the jail. Listen, I'm not a prison abolitionist per se, but I do believe in the United States we have too many people incarcerated and that we should give out lighter sentences for a lot of crimes, and a lot of things shouldn't be crimes at all. But one thing we don't need in society are people who have no remorse for hurting other people and killing other people. I imagine myself if I were driving my car and I accidentally hit somebody and killed them. And let's say even I went to court and they did not find me guilty for manslaughter. They said it was a complete accident, something that would never obviously happen. Even people who kill people accidentally still have to go to jail. But let's say I did. I would at least feel remorse and I would feel shame and I would want to try to do something to help the family. Let's say I was this thug, Daniel Penny, and I decided that Jordan Neely was bothering me so much that I wanted to put him in a chokehold until he passed out. And let's say I thought he passed out, but it later turned out that he died. I would still feel some remorse, some actual grief in my heart for this other person whose life I took. But if you say that you killed somebody accidentally or on purpose, and you feel no remorse for it, you're a sick person. You are literally the devil. You have no basic humanity. No basic humanity. You're no different than Jeffrey Dahmer. You're no different than any other serial killer. You're a sad person. Nobody deserves to die who did not hurt you, did not attack you, did not attack your family, wasn't a threat to anybody, wasn't threatening you. Like, nobody deserves that. Daniel Penny had no scratches, no marks on his body. And from my recollection of the video, Jordan Neely wasn't even trying to fight him or fight back. He was like, yo, let me go. I can't breathe, if I remember right. And even if that is, or even if that isn't the case, Daniel Penny is a thug who took somebody's life and does not care. Do you want that person living next to you? Do you want that person going to school with you? Do you want that person working with you? No, we should not have sick, callous people walking around who have no remorse for taking human life. Bury them under the jail. I love being right wing for these brief moments. Let's give them 25 to life. Let's bring back the death penalty in New York. Yeah, that's what we need. No, I don't agree with the death penalty at all, but I'm just saying if there was a person who deserved it, it would be this thug. Penny was arrested more than a week after the incident and after protests calling for him to be charged. Activists drew comparisons between Neely's death, shown in a viral video, and the deaths of Eric Garner and George Floyd, who died at the hands of white police officers. But Penny repeatedly told the New York Post that race had nothing to do with the confrontation between him and Neely. I judge a person based on their character. I'm not a white supremacist, he said. Neely's funeral service took place on Friday at Harlem's Mount Nebo Baptist Church. The Reverend Al Sharpton, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and New York Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado were among those who attended. Now, I'm not going to debate whether Daniel Penny is or isn't a racist or a white supremacist, but what I do know, because I browse 4chan's poll quite often, I see that the racists and the white supremacists on there are supporting Daniel Penny. They say he did a good thing. They say he's a hero. And if racists and white supremacists like what you do, maybe you share some of the characteristics that they have. And let's also look at the right. The Republicans, some Republicans, want to push resolution to recognize and honor Daniel Penny for heroism and courage. This is coming from Fox News, a very reputable news source that's never lied at all. It was published on May 25th, 2023. Penny is charged with manslaughter in the May 1st chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a New York City subway train. This is written by Kyle Morris and Houston Keene. Let's go to this article. Exclusive. Republican Rep. Andy Ogles of Tennessee introduced a resolution Thursday to recognize and honor Daniel Penny, a military veteran charged with manslaughter, for his heroism and courage on a New York City subway train earlier this month. Yes, becoming a hero is when you hurt homeless people. This is what the Republicans are all about. Now listen, I'm not here caping for the Democrats. I'm an ardent leftist. I'm a globalist. I'm an anti-nationalist. But we have to be honest. The Republican Party is nuts. The right and conservatives in the U.S. are literally nuts. They put on a pedestal people like Daniel Penny, vigilante murderers like George Zimmerman, and they say these people are heroes. You're not a hero because you kill somebody. You're not a hero because you cross state lines like Kyle Rittenhouse to go shoot at protesters. You're a vigilante. You're a thug. You're a criminal. and you should be under the jail. Unfortunately, George Zimmerman got away with it, and Kyle Rittenhouse got away with it because they were in red states where a lot of people support these sorts of ideologies and beliefs that vigilantes should be able to carry out violence. The only saving grace here is that Daniel Penny did his crime in New York City. Very blue, very left, very Democrat, and hopefully, in this case, the justice system gets it right and puts this murderer behind bars. Let's continue reading, though. The resolution aims to set the record straight about what happened this month, and it recognizes Penny's heroism in stepping up to protect himself and other frightened passengers in the subway car. I love how Fox News just sorts of bends the truth and slowly indoctrinates you. Reading that sentence itself made me sick. I don't know if that's the actual words in the resolution, and I don't know actually if Andy Ogles is a state representative of Tennessee or if he's a representative in the federal government, in Congress, in the House of Representatives. But either way, he should be ashamed of himself. This man probably would call himself a Christian. Daniel Penny will probably call himself a Christian, but a Christian doesn't run around killing people and then pretending like you have no remorse for it or saying you have no remorse for it. And a Christian wouldn't idolize that person who murders somebody and then says, I have no remorse for it. Is that what Jesus would do? Somebody show me in the Bible where Jesus killed somebody. Penny is charged with manslaughter in the May 1st chokehold of Jordan Neely, a homeless man aboard a subway train. Penny, a 24-year-old Marine veteran, was questioned by police that day and released, but cell phone video, which showed two other men holding Neely's arms as Penny held Neely in a chokehold for several minutes, went viral online. A medical examiner later ruled Neely's death a homicide, even though prosecutors noted Neely was yelling threats toward other subway passengers when Penny intervened. Yeah, and I also think the other two people who are holding his arms down should be in jail too, like you were assisting a murder. But let's see what happens. Disturbed by the treatment received by Penny, Ogles, with assistance from other Republicans in the House, is making it clear where he stands on the issue. And a lot of the right wing in America, the Republicans, are held captive by the online right, the worst people in the world, the incels, the racists who troll on Facebook and on 4chan and under my YouTube comment section. Yes, those racist people are the most terminally online people. They're the most terminally, perpetually online people, and they're the ones who are harassing these representatives in Congress to take these extreme actions, like to say a guy who's about to go on trial for manslaughter, murder, whatever. We have to pass a resolution to say this guy is a hero for killing homeless people. Because why? Because, I have a bunch of people under my Facebook post spamming me all day that this guy is a hero. Why are they doing this? I don't know, but I know that I have to support whatever they're supporting because they're my constituents. They're the ones who donate money to my campaign, and they're the ones who are voting for me. So I have to represent my constituents. But I wish our elected representatives had enough nuts, had enough balls, had enough courage to stand up to their constituents and say, you guys are retarded. You guys are stupid. You guys are stupid. Stop posting on Facebook all this dumb stuff. Stop calling people who murder homeless people heroes. You guys are the worst. And as your elected representative, I'm here to tell you, shut the fuck up. Let's continue reading. The disgusting political abuse of power by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg is an egregious assault on our justice system. On May 1st, Daniel Penny took action to protect himself and innocent commuters on the F train from an out-of-control individual. Ogles, who has represented Tennessee's 5th congressional district since January, told Fox News Digital. DA Bragg and the mainstream media were quick to jump to the defense of Jordan Neely, who had a record of 42 arrests, including 3 assaults on women right in the New York subway. Yes, the typical thing that the right does. Whenever somebody dies, we have to look up how many times they were arrested, how many times they went to jail. Because they don't believe in actual reform. They don't believe in the actual criminal justice system where somebody does their time if they pay the crime and they should be able to be rehabilitated and enter society. No, they believe that once you do something, you're forever held to that, especially if you're black. Especially if you're black and you're killed by a white person in America. Of course, we have to look at your background first. Your humanity is gone. What you did before getting brutalized and murdered by somebody doesn't matters more than your actual humanity. That's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to say that, Jordan Neely's humanity was gone because he had been arrested 42 times, as if we don't live in a police state in the United States where the majority of Americans get arrested at least once in their life. Where the majority of Americans have had interactions with the police that were absolutely unnecessary. Where the majority of people who are arrested are poor, or the majority of people who are sent to jail have some mental health problems. Yes, Jordan Neely, because he was poor, he had mental health problems, he was destitute. This person deserved to die, especially because he was a career criminal. Ah yes. But you know what? Daniel Penny deserves a clean slate because he was a Marine, he was a veteran, and he's a handsome white man with blonde curly hair. I'll continue reading. Instead of joining in with the full throttled woke mob in unjustly demonizing Mr. Penny, I introduced a resolution to recognize and honor him for his heroism and courage, Ogle added. In agreement with Ogle's Georgia Republican Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene told Fox that Penny referred to by his critics as a white supremacist and a vigilante, is the ideal American hero. These are not the people that we should be electing to Congress. Crazy right wing nuts who call people who are vigilantes who murder people on subway trains heroes. These are not real American heroes. The world needs more men like Daniel Penny. No, we don't. He's exactly what an American hero looks like, Green said in a statement. The resolution, according to its text, recognizes Daniel Penny of West Islip, New York, for his heroism and courage in apprehending a threat to public safety. I don't know where West Islip, New York is. Like I said, I've only been to New York City. I did not visit the rest of New York State, but I've heard from other people that, New York, rural New York is very, very conservative, very deep red. So it's not surprising that some people might have some weird beliefs coming out of, upper New York. I'll continue. Or Long Island, by the way. I'll continue. Nearly 30, was homeless, had more than 40 prior arrests, but his supporters have demanded Penny be charged with murder. How do you write this sentence and then Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. He had 40 prior arrests, but his supporters have demanded Penny be charged with murder. Yes, because he's been murdered. It doesn't matter if a person was arrested before or spent 20 years in jail and then they step out and that person was murdered. It doesn't make sense. Penny, who is charged with second-degree manslaughter and is free on a $100,000 bond, spoke out for the first time Saturday, saying in a recent interview with the New York Post that his choice to step in had nothing to do with race. Penny said he was deeply saddened by Neely's death and insisted it is tragic what happened to him. I judge a person based on their character. I'm not a white supremacist, Penny said. I mean, it's a little bit comical. Everybody who's ever met me can tell you I love all people. I love all cultures. Yes, but you are a criminal and a thug who murdered people, who murdered a person. Sorry. Hopefully, we can change the system that so desperately failed us, he added. Penny told the Post that he was on his way to the gym when Neely entered his subway car on May 1st. Neely, who reportedly suffered from mental illness, began yelling about going to jail and being hungry and tired. Passengers have said Neely was yelling and acting erratically when Penny intervened by putting him in a chokehold. Penny's lawyers have argued that the Marine veteran was trying to defend himself and the passengers by restraining Neely. Once again, you're going to New York City, you're on the subway train, you're going to hear and see homeless people, the poor, the dispossessed. That doesn't mean we can attack them. Not at all. Authorities are still determining to what extent Neely was threatening the train's passengers. Freelance journalist Juan Alberto Vasquez, who filmed the incident, said Neely was yelling and threw his jacket to the ground, but that he did not physically attack anyone. But an eyewitness told Fox News Digital that Penny was a hero and recalled that Neely was using words like kill and bullet when he was yelling. It was self-defense. And I believe in my heart that Penny saved a lot of people that day that could have gotten hurt, the retiree told Fox News. So there's a video of this guy ranting, throwing his jacket on the ground, and we're going to discount that part. And also that the person who recorded it showed and also said the guy didn't hurt or attack anybody before. But we're going to listen to some retiree who was there, some older person who just said, you know what, Penny saved a lot of lives because this guy said he was going to kill himself and use a bullet. It doesn't make any sense. The 24-year-old veteran told the Post that he did not regret the encounter and did not feel ashamed. And that alone shows me why Daniel Penny is a terrible person. He is irredeemable because even when you do something as heinous as take a life, you should at least feel some remorse. But if you feel no remorse at all, I'll have no remorse saying this. You should burn in hell. My name is Simon Hill. Thank you for watching. Peace.